58 EastEnders photo spoilers recap this week's episodes: grief, fights, and a shock exit. We said a huge farewell to a Walford icon in EastEnders this week, as recapped in Metro's weekly gallery above, with pictures showing the legendary Sonia Fowler's exit play out. Picking up shortly after the events of this week, we saw Sonia remaining steadfast in her decision to disown Bianca Jackson. Luckily, our son soon saw sense with B, and they made amends. Bianca suffered a panic attack after being accosted by so-called fans of her contribution to the Coma Killer podcast. Sonia witnessed the incident and swooped into action, rescuing her beloved sister. However, things soon took a worrying turn when Sonia's estranged father Terry arrived at number 25. Sonia was left reeling, but pondered on a decision to start a new life with him in Bali. Terry turned out to be quite a cruel man, who hadn't changed at all. Son saw sense and decided to travel with Bianca and her daughters instead. The iconic scene saw her drive into the sunset in the back of his speedboat, wielding her infamous trumpet. Over at the Slaters, Lily's behaviour proved a cause for concern. Jean stepped in, but Lily continued to lash out and smoke weed with pal Avani Nandra Hart. She stole cash from the cab office to buy the drugs, and later received a tough talk from Bex Fowler. Avani also landed herself in hot water when she brought narcotics to Amy Mitchell's party, and when her dealer Declan showed up, the situation escalated. He brandished a hammer and threatened the teens, but luckily Jack Branning got there in the nick of time. Stacey's well-being was the subject of much concern as grief continued to consume her, and when Sonia got wind of her plight, she paid Stace a visit, with the two supporting one another in their time of need. Nicola Mitchell, meanwhile, returned home from her holiday and was livid to learn that Zach Hudson is training Barney. She issued a stark warning to Zach before setting Tommy Moon and Joel Marshall on a cruel mission to ruin their day. Nick isn't one to be messed with. Major new opportunity for EastEnders Kojo. As he fights back Vic fears EastEnders Kojo, Asare lands a big new opportunity this week, as it becomes clear he is thinking about a future beyond the Vic. Prior to the explosion that destroyed the iconic Walford pub earlier this year, Kojo had been living there with his brother George and the rest of the Knight Carter family. As reconstruction work has begun on the boozer, the whole family has been living with Sonia Fowler at number 25. In scenes to air this week, project manager Teddy Mitchell gives the Knights an update on the rebuild, and it becomes clear Kojo isn't thrilled at the prospect of moving home. Kojo later expresses his wish to live alone, but George isn't convinced, despite persuasion from his daughter Gina. Kojo becomes determined to prove himself, and soon lands himself a trial shift at the Arches with Harry Mitchell. On his first day, Kojo makes a big impression and quickly lands a permanent job, alongside an invite to Nicola Mitchell's birthday party. Buoyed by his new job, will Kojo manage to convince George he's ready to live by himself? It's been an intense few months for Kojo, who before losing his home in the explosion, had been left in a coma following an incident involving Cindy Beale. It happened after Kojo inadvertently discovered that Cindy was having an affair with her former stepson Junior Knight last year. A desperate confrontation between him and Cindy ensued, and he was sent flying over the edge of a staircase, subsequently spending weeks in hospital recovering. After he eventually woke from his coma, Cindy attempted to manipulate Kojo into keeping quiet. However, her bid to keep her affair under wraps ultimately failed when Lauren Branning learned the truth and dropped the bombshell to the rest of their family in the dramatic Christmas Day episode. EastEnders to air earlier as BBC changes TV schedule over bank holiday. The episode will be bumped up to make way for Tim Burton's Dumbo. It's the Easter weekend, and as people across the UK enjoy the 4-day bank holiday weekend, they will have to adjust their TV viewing plans somewhat, as there has been a change to the schedule. For fans of EastEnders, the episode airing on Easter Monday, 21st April, will no longer be airing in its usual time slot of 7:30 p.m. Instead, the episode will air at 6:50 p.m. to make way for the TV premiere of Tim Burton's live-action Dumbo remake from 2019. Looking at the wider BBC One schedule, the One show will air at 6:25 p.m, followed by EastEnders and Dumbo, with a new episode of Paddy and Chris, road tripping airing straight afterwards at 9 p.m. EastEnders will move back to its usual 7:30 p.m. slot on Tuesday. The official synopsis for Monday's episode of EastEnders says, Nigel spies an opportunity to prove himself, a request from Junior leaves Teddy with few options, and Priya does her best to lift Avani's spirits. It's been a dramatic time on EastEnders of late, with Natalie Cassidy's Sonia departing the square just weeks after the huge events of the show's 40th anniversary, in which James By's Martin lost his life. The anniversary celebrations were marked in a number of ways, including with a return from Ross Kemp, who recently admitted his 2-week stint back on the show left him slightly fried. He said, "It was wonderful, but you come away from it slightly fried." Grant comes back, and within a minute he's fighting, he's crying, he's making love, then he's crying about it, then he's fighting again. He's never just sat in the laundrette. The first scene in the anniversary was me breaking into the arches and wrestling a Beretta 9mm off my brother, so it wasn't like going to the cafe and saying, "Can I have a bacon roll, please?" I think a part of me is Grant, and part of Grant is me. It was great to put the leather jacket on again, and also a relief that I could still get in it. 14 of Sonia Fowler's biggest and best EastEnders moments, from surprise birth to live monologue. What's your highlight? 1. Sonia's trumpet. Since childhood, Sonia's trumpet has been a running gag that stuck with the character and has cropped up several times over the years. It's fair to say that Sonia's love of the instrument wasn't shared by those around her, mostly because, bless her heart, she wasn't always very good at playing it. But whenever we think of Sonia, we'll always remember her trumpet, so it simply had to make our list. 2. Jamie Mitchell defends Sonia's honour. Jamie jumped to Sonia's defence from an immature Martin Fowler, who was making cruel comments about her. Jamie insisted that nobody would ever compare to Sonia, and she was so stunned to witness this that she dropped the chips she had just bought. With that, Sonia and Jamie were united and sealed their relationship with a kiss. A classic moment of pure romance. 3. Surprise baby. Despite Martin's nasty treatment of Sonia, months earlier he showed her some kindness in private, and the pair had a one-night stand. What Sonia didn't know was that she had fallen pregnant, and one day, while on a date with Jamie, she suffered agonizing pain. Mo Harris heard Sonia's cries from next door and was on hand to play midwife as Sonia gave birth to a baby girl. In shock, Sonia begged for the child to be sent away, although she did name the little one Chloe before she was adopted. 4. Kidnap drama. Struggling with guilt over her decision not to keep Chloe, Sonia kidnapped her. Sonia's daughter had been renamed Rebecca by her adoptive parents, who were desperate to have her back. It was Sonia's step-grandmother, Dot Branning, who stepped in to make Sonia see sense, although Son didn't relent until after she had ridiculed Dot's Christian beliefs and thrown her Bible across the room. One of the most memorable scenes from star Cassidy, who would go on to break our hearts once more just a few months later. 5. The loss of Jamie. Just as Jamie planned to give Sonia an engagement ring, he was mowed down by Martin, who was driving while disqualified and while using his phone. Jamie woke up in hospital and claimed that he didn't blame Martin, but Sonia and Phil Mitchell learned that Jamie had extensive liver damage and would die from his injuries. In a poignant Christmas Day installment, Sonia and Jamie made promises to each other as she lay beside him in his hospital bed. Jamie passed away shortly after, leaving Sonia heartbroken. 6. Showdown with stalker Sarah Cairns. Sonia found love again with Martin, who had finally grown up, and the pair got married. But their wedded bliss was shattered when Martin woke up in bed with a woman called Sarah after a night of drinking. Believing he had cheated on Sonia, Martin was horrified when Sarah befriended Sonia and refused to stay away. The situation came to a shocking head when Sarah admitted to Sonia that Martin had not had sex with her after all. Realizing she couldn't have Martin, Sarah went to stab Sonia, but it was Martin who sustained an injury when he tried to protect his wife. Sonia hit Sarah with Pauline's fruit bowl, and Sarah was taken for treatment in a mental health facility. Martin and Sonia would encounter many other hurdles in their marriage, including Sonia's affair with colleague Naomi Julian, but Son's eventual reunion with Martin was marred by a certain spiky matriarch. Then 7. Sonia versus Pauline Fowler. On Christmas Day 2006, a row erupted between Sonia and mother-in-law Pauline, who had become bitter and had fallen out with Martin. Sonia urged Pauline to make amends, but Pauline resented Sonia's modern attitude to life and savagely insulted Sonia until the latter snapped, slapping Pauline so hard that she fell to the floor. Pauline later collapsed and died outside in the snow, with Sonia accused of her murder. But Pauline's second husband, Joe Mesa, was the culprit, having struck Pauline over the head with a frying pan. 8. Happily ever after. Having got custody of Rebecca and been cleared over Pauline's death, Sonia decided to make a fresh start elsewhere. Her taxi out of Walford was blocked by a determined Martin and Rebecca, who revealed they were coming with her. Sonia was overwhelmed, and a beaming Rebecca sat between her parents as they shared a kiss before heading off into the sunset as a family. A truly heartwarming exit. 9. Trying to seduce Phil Mitchell. Feeling low about her marriage woes, Sonia returned to Walford alone to attend Sister Bianca's wedding in 2010. She got very drunk and ended up telling Phil off over his treatment of Jamie. When Phil told Sonia to go upstairs and sober up, Sonia misunderstood and waited for Phil in his bed, naked. Needless to say, all hell broke loose when Shirley Carter walked in and thought the worst of a stunned Phil. 10. Sonia and Sharon Watts's catfight. In a row with Sharon Watts over Louise Mitchell's bullying of Sonia's daughter Bex, Sonia was pushed to her limit when Sharon suggested that Sonia had abandoned Bex when she moved away. Sonia reacted by pushing Sharon into a hooker duck pool, leaving Sharon drenched and furious. Sonia was as shocked as Sharon at the turn of events, but it was a firm reminder not to mess with her. 11. Sonia saves Ben Mitchell's life. A siege in the Queen Vic at the hands of Hunter Owen led to Ben being shot, and Nurse Sonia was forced to take action. As Phil and Callum Highway watched on, Ben's lungs began to collapse, and Sonia used what was to hand and managed to save Ben's life under severe pressure. 12. Dot Branning's eulogy. Taking inspiration from a tape made by Dot, Sonia read the eulogy at her funeral. Sonia went on to inherit Dot's house, as well as some of Dot's traits as the character people turn to in a crisis. Unfortunately, Sonia also inherited a relative of Dot's who turned her life upside down, but that's another story. 13. Sonia confronts killer Rice Colwell. Fresh from a prison stint for the murder of Debbie, Sonia was horror-struck when she realised that her own partner, Debbie's widower, Rice Colwell, was the real killer. A showdown ensued as Sonia was trapped by Rice, before Bianca escaped from captivity just in time to smash Rice over the head with Dot's teapot. Sonia's iconic reaction was to utter the words, "Dot always said a pot of tea makes everything better." 14. Baby Julia is born in EastEnders live episode. Cassidy had the task of acting out Sonia's birth scenes during a tense live edition of EastEnders to coincide with the show's 40th anniversary. With Race dead after a bathtub fell on him in the wreckage of the Queen Vic, Sonia was trapped with Bianca and their cousin Lauren when she realised she was in labour. Sonia delivered baby girl Julia, and the actress gave a moving monologue to end the episode, with the untimely death of Martin playing out at the same time. 14. Baby Julia is born in EastEnders live episode. Cassidy had the task of